All right, so we're diving into Microsoft Copilot and NIST Assist today.
Okay.
You've given us a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Especially, I think you're interested in Copilot's features, how it's going to impact businesses, especially government contractors.
Right.
And then where does NIST Assist fit into all of this?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you've got this kind of perfect storm brewing right now.
Oh, okay.
Where you have the rise of very powerful AI like Microsoft Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you have this increasing complexity in cybersecurity and compliance,
Right.
especially in the government contracting world.
Yeah, it's like we're building this high-speed train, but we're also laying the track right in front of it as we're going.
Exactly.
So let's break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Starting with Microsoft Copilot, this is being touted as kind of the AI assistant that works across the entire Microsoft 365 suite.
Right.
So it's not just like a chatbot. It's like having a superpowered sidekick for Word, for spreadsheets, for presentations, you name it.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting here is that it's not just about automating tasks that you're already doing.
Right.
It's about enabling you to do things that previously you couldn't do.
Okay.
Or that you couldn't do without a significant amount of time.
Okay.
And manpower, right. So, for example,
Yeah.
let's say you're a government contractor
Uh-huh.
and you are working on a bid.
Right.
You could feed Copilot historical bid data
Okay.
and potentially have it analyze that data
Wow.
to, say, identify hidden cost drivers.
How interesting.
That could give you a significant advantage. In terms of crafting your proposal and making it competitive,
Yeah.
that's a game changer. No more spending hours and hours just combing through spreadsheets manually.
Right.
But at the same time, we have this whole other landscape, which is the cybersecurity landscape.
Yes.
And this is becoming a minefield, especially for government contractors, because now you've got CMMC,
Right.
cybersecurity, maturity model certification.
Yep.
What's the deal with that?
So essentially, think of CMMC like a security clearance
Okay.
for your entire business.
Gotcha.
Which is basically the Department of Defense saying,
Yeah.
if you want to handle our data,
Right.
you need to be able to prove to us that you can keep it safe.
Okay.
And so they've broken it down into these different levels.
Okay.
You know, from basic cyber hygiene at level 1.
All the way up to kind of advanced threat protection at level 5.
Wow.
The higher the level,
Right.
the more stringent those security requirements become.
So it's not one size fits all. So you've got these powerful AI tools like Copilot emerging, and you've got this increasingly complex cybersecurity landscape.
Right.
And this is where I see NIST Assist kind of entering the picture, right? Because
Yeah.
their whole thing is about guiding businesses through this crazy maze of technology and compliance.
Right. And what's interesting about NIST Assist is that they approach it from kind of both the tech perspective.
Okay.
They really understand Microsoft.
Okay.
But they also understand
Yeah.
the risk and compliance frameworks like CMMC
Okay.
and NIST 800-171.
Hold on. NIST 800.
Yeah.
Let's rewind for a second because I know there are going to be people listening who are like, what is that?
Right.
So NIST 800-171. For those of us who aren't swimming in acronyms all day, what is that and why should we care?
So that's another set of cybersecurity standards.
Oh.
And this one focuses specifically on protecting something called Controlled Unclassified Information, or CUI.
Okay.
Essentially, this is data that's not like classified top secret or anything,
Right.
but it's still sensitive and needs protection.
Right.
So we're talking about things like technical drawings,
Oh.
financial data,
Gotcha.
employee information, this kind of stuff.
So NIST 800-171 lays out all the rules for keeping that kind of data safe.
Exactly. And a lot of government contractors, even if they're not dealing with classified information, will still handle CUI.
Right.
So NIST Assist comes in,
Yeah.
and they have this deep understanding of both CMMC, which is more broad,
Mm-hmm.
and NIST 800-171, which is specifically about CUI.
Okay.
They're kind of like that friend who speaks fluent government regulation.
Okay, so they're fluent in regulation,
Right.
but they also really seem to live and breathe Microsoft, which is an interesting combination.
Absolutely. They're a Microsoft Silver partner. They're a licensed reseller.
Wow.
This isn't just something where they're kind of, talking the talk.
Right, they're walking the walk.
They're walking the walk.
Okay.
They work with Azure, Microsoft 365, Power Platform, Dynamics 365, you name it.
It's like they're speaking both languages.
Yes,
Which seems essential in this world.
it is.
But they're doing more than translating, right?
Mm.
They're actually getting their hands dirty and helping businesses implement these solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not afraid to roll up their sleeves
Okay.
and help with things like business process reengineering,
Wow.
on-site office management, that kind of thing.
That's a very hands-on approach, it seems like.
It is.
Okay, so they're fluent in tech, they get the government regulations, and they're willing to get their hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty potent combination.
It is.
But you mentioned something else about their approach, and this is what I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
You said something about time management, and I thought, well, that seems like a little bit of a left turn.
Yeah.
What does time management have to do with any of this?
So they've drawn this link
Okay.
between being proactive and cybersecurity.
Okay.
And in fact, they've developed this whole process.
Okay.
It's patent pending, I guess,
Wow.
based on Stephen Covey's time management matrix.
Okay.
You know, the 7 Habits guy.
Yeah.
So have you heard of that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the 4 quadrants.
It's okay, yeah.
Urgent, not urgent. Important, not important.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued. Keep going.
Okay.
So, okay, you've piqued my curiosity here.
Okay.
Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits guy, what does time management have to do with cybersecurity?
So it's all about shifting your mindset
Okay.
from reactive to proactive,
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
So you remember the 4 quadrants?
Yeah.
Urgent, not urgent.
Right.
Important, not important.
Yeah.
Their argument is that most businesses, when it comes to cybersecurity, they're stuck in that urgent, important quadrant,
Oh, I see.
right? They're always fighting fires.
Right.
They're always reacting to the latest threat.
Yeah. And that's exhausting, I would imagine.
It is.
You always feel a step behind.
Exactly. And so their whole philosophy is about helping businesses move to that important but not urgent quadrant
Okay.
where you're proactively building a strong security posture.
Right.
You're putting preventative measures in place.
Right.
You're creating a culture of security awareness.
Yeah.
So that when these urgent threats do arise,
Uh-huh.
because they will,
Right.
you're ready.
So it's less about frantically trying to, like, put out fires
Right.
and more about kind of building a fireproof house in the first place.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
But how does this actually, like, how does this play out in the real world?
Yeah.
Give me an example.
So let's say you're a government contractor
Okay.
and you're handling sensitive employee data. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
A reactive approach would be waiting for a data breach to happen and then, scrambling to contain the damage.
Right.
Whereas a proactive approach,
Yeah.
inspired by these Covey principles, would be saying,
Okay.
okay, let's work with NIST Assist
Uh-huh.
to implement strong access controls,
Right.
encryption, employee training programs
Right.
beforehand.
Got it.
Right. It's about anticipating those what-if scenarios
Right.
and having a plan in place.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like that old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly.
But it sounds like NIST Assist is taking that a step further and saying,
Yes.
hey, this proactive approach, it's not just about protecting yourself. It
Right.
can actually make you more competitive, more profitable.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they've seen it firsthand.
Right.
They argue that by streamlining security processes,
Uh-huh.
by proactively managing risk,
Okay.
leveraging tools, potentially like Microsoft Copilot,
Mm-hmm.
to automate some of these tedious compliance tasks,
Right.
that businesses free up time and resources to focus on things like innovation,
Right.
new business development.
Right. So it's not just about minimizing risk. It's about maximizing opportunity as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they take it even a step further. They connect it back to intellectual property,
Okay.
right? They say that a company with a strong security posture
Mm-hmm.
is better positioned to protect its valuable IP,
Right.
which of course strengthens their competitive edge.
That's a really interesting point because I think often we think about cybersecurity as a cost center.
Yes.
Like it's a necessary evil, but
Yeah.
NIST Assist is kind of reframing that and saying, no, this is actually a strategic asset.
Yes.
This can actually drive business growth.
It's about changing the narrative
Right.
from how much is this going to cost me
Right.
to how much is this going to make me.
Yeah, that's a powerful shifting perspective.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the kind of the nitty-gritty
Yes.
of CMMC, NIST 800-171.
Right.
We've talked about this kind of fascinating link with Stephen Covey and time management and a proactive approach to cybersecurity, but
Right.
we haven't really touched on kind of, I guess, the human element of all of this.
And that's critical.
Right.
And that's something that NIST Assist recognizes as well.
Okay.
They fully acknowledge that technology is just one piece of the puzzle here. To be truly secure and compliant,
Yeah.
you need to have a culture of awareness.
Right.
Where employees at all levels
Right.
understand the importance of their role in
Right.
protecting sensitive information.
Well, and it's like that saying, right? The weakest link in any security chain is often the human element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could have the most sophisticated security tools in the world.
Right.
But if your employees are clicking on phishing links
Right.
or leaving, sensitive documents lying around,
Yep.
it's all for nothing.
So how does NIST Assist address that?
So that's where their focus on training and education
Okay.
comes in.
Got it.
They work with businesses to develop these customized training programs
Okay.
that educate employees about potential threats, teach them how to identify and avoid risks, and really empower them to be proactive in their daily work.
So instead of just installing like the firewalls and calling it a day,
Right.
they're actually equipping the people within the organization to be those human firewalls as well.
Exactly. They believe that informed and empowered employees
Right.
are one of the most valuable assets you can have in the fight against cyber threats.
So they're not just tech wizards, they're cybersecurity coaches too.
That's a great way to put it.
Working with the whole team, I like it.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, with all this talk about, proactivity and shifting mindsets,
Right.
how do they measure success?
That's a good question.
Is it even possible to quantify something like that?
It is. And it seems like they really focus on a couple of key things.
Okay.
One is reduction in security incidents.
Okay.
Right, it makes sense.
Right.
If their approach is working,
Yeah.
you should see fewer breaches,
Okay.
fewer near misses,
Right.
fewer frantic phone calls to the IT department.
So that's a pretty straightforward measure, right?
Right.
Are things breaching less often?
Exactly.
Okay.
But they also look at things like employee awareness,
Okay.
adoption of best practices.
Right.
So they might track things like, how often employees complete their security training.
Right.
Are they reporting suspicious emails?
Gotcha.
Are they following the proper data handling procedures?
So it's not just about the technology working, it's about the people working with the technology.
Exactly, because they understand that a truly effective security posture
Right.
is a partnership between people, processes, and technology.
Right. It sounds like they've really thought long and hard about all the moving pieces
They have.
involved in building a secure and compliant organization, especially in a high-stakes field like government contracting.
They have, and what I think is impressive is that they've managed to connect these seemingly disparate elements.
Right.
Right? We're talking about cutting-edge AI tools like Microsoft Copilot,
Yeah.
Stephen Covey's time management principles,
Right.
into this kind of cohesive and compelling approach.
It's like they're saying, look, we get it. Cybersecurity can feel overwhelming,
It can.
especially with all this new technology and regulations,
Yeah.
coming out all the time. But it doesn't have to be that way. Let's break this down. Let's build a plan and let's empower your team to succeed.
That's a great summary.
Yeah.
They're not just selling services.
Yeah. Right.
They're providing a roadmap
Right.
for navigating this complex landscape
I like it.
and ultimately achieving long-term success.
Yeah, it's like they're taking all the pieces.
Right.
The tech, the regulations, the human element,
Uh-huh.
and they're putting it all together in a way that makes sense.
And what I find really interesting is this connection they make
Yeah.
back to profitability.
Okay.
It's not just about, hey, be secure so you don't get sued,
Right.
or be secure so you don't lose contracts.
Yeah.
They're making the case
Yeah.
for security and compliance as drivers of business value.
They're flipping the script, right?
Yes.
Instead of security being a cost center,
Yeah.
it's actually an investment
Right.
with a potential return.
Exactly, because they would argue
Mhm.
that a company with robust security, a strong compliance posture,
Mm-hmm.
is more likely to win those government contracts,
Right.
attract investors, maybe even command a premium
Right.
for their products or services.
It builds trust, right?
Right.
Not just
Right.
with your customers, but your partners,
Right.
even your competitors.
Especially in a world where,
Right.
data breaches are becoming so common.
Right. That trust is invaluable.
It is.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive
Okay.
into Microsoft Copilot, cybersecurity, and NIST Assist,
Yeah.
what's the one big takeaway?
So I think the big takeaway here is that in this,
Yeah.
rapidly evolving landscape, especially with technology,
Right.
cybersecurity and compliance,
Mm.
they're not just check boxes anymore.
Right.
These are strategic imperatives that can make or break you.
It's not just about avoiding risk. It's about, how can this make my business better?
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
tools like Microsoft Copilot, they can certainly help.
Right,
They can
yeah.
automate some things, they can improve efficiency,
Yeah.
but they're only one piece of the puzzle.
You got to take that holistic approach.
Yes.
Understand the regulations, build the culture,
Yes.
and start viewing security as an advantage, not a burden.
Exactly. And I would also add, you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
There are organizations like NIST Assist out there
Yeah.
that can guide you. They can provide expertise, support,
Right.
so you can thrive in this environment.
So to our listener, as you're,
Yeah.
going down this road, exploring Copilot,
Mhm.
cybersecurity, all of this,
Right.
remember, proactive and strategic, that's the key.
It is.
Embrace the tech, but don't forget about the people
Very good.
and building that strong security culture.
100%.
All right, that's a wrap on this deep dive.
Excellent.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure.